There comes a time in every man's life when silence speaks louder than words, and if you listen long enough in the silence, you'll hear God whisper. He speaks in moments of pain. He speaks in moments of clarity. And sometimes he speaks to warn us, do not tell these things to anyone, because there is power in mystery, there is wisdom in restraint, and there is destruction in exposure. You see, the world teaches you to talk. Social media teaches you to broadcast, society encourages you to overshare, but heaven operates on an entirely different system. God doesn't bless the loudest person in the room. He blesses the quiet, the faithful, the disciplined, those who keep his secrets guarded in the chambers of their heart. There are some things in life that are too sacred to be exposed, some truths too deep for the shallow ears of this world. And if you want to live a life of purpose, of power, of divine direction, you must learn the holy art of silence. The first thing God says you should never tell anyone is your next move, because your vision is a seed. And seeds don't grow in public. They grow in silence, in darkness, under the soil. Tell the wrong person your next move, and they will try to talk you out of it. They'll mock you, or worse, they'll imitate you. And a stolen dream is a dead dream. People may say they believe in you, but they don't believe in what God told you in the quiet. That vision was not given to a crowd, it was given to you. They didn't see what you saw. They didn't hear what you heard, so they cannot protect it the way you can. Guard your next move like your life depends on it, because it does. God gives us glimpses of our future, not so we can post them, but so we can prepare for them. The most powerful people on this earth are not the ones who shout their plans, but the ones who move in silence and let success make the noise. The second thing you should never tell anyone is how much money you have. Not because it's evil, but because money reveals the hearts of people. When you speak of your wealth, even those closest to you may begin to view you through the lens of greed, jealousy, or manipulation. God may be blessing you financially, but not everyone is mature enough to handle your blessing. When you reveal your treasure, you also expose the door through which thieves can enter. Ask Joseph. He told his brothers his dream and ended up in a pit. Wealth is not just about money, it's about mindset, it's about stewardship, it's about peace, but the moment you talk about it, people will reduce your whole journey to a number. They'll envy your bank account, but not your sacrifice. They'll want the harvest without understanding the tears you watered the seed with. So stay quiet, let them wonder, let them guess. The person who looks poor may be sitting on empires, and the one who flaunts his gold may be drowning in debt. Silence protects your peace, and peace is more precious than silver or gold. The third thing God says to never tell anyone is your weaknesses. Why? Because not everyone is your friend, and even the ones who smile in your face may be taking notes. The devil doesn't always show up with horns. Sometimes he comes disguised as someone curious, concerned, and kind. The moment you tell someone your weakness, you hand them the blueprint to destroy you. You give them the sword that they can use to wound you later. God already knows your weaknesses. He can heal them, strengthen them, protect you in spite of them. But the world does not heal. It laughs, it gossips, it judges, so speak to God about your wounds, not to man. Go to the secret place, cry in your prayer room, but when you walk out, walk like a king, walk like a queen. Let the world see the glory, not the struggle. Yes, vulnerability is powerful, but vulnerability without discernment is dangerous. Tell your testimony when the scar has healed. Don't bleed on people who are only there to watch you suffer. The fourth thing you must never tell anyone is your family problems. Because loyalty begins at home, family is messy. Yes, every family has its storms, but not every storm needs to be reported to the public. When you expose your family's issues, you dishonor the very foundation you stand on. No family is perfect, but God works through families. He restores families. He redeems broken homes. And sometimes the healing begins when one person decides to keep things private and pray instead of post. You may be the only one in your family with vision, the only one with faith, the only one with clarity, That doesn't give you the right to shame the rest. Instead, God calls you to intercede, not expose. When you speak about your family's dysfunction, people may pretend to sympathize, but behind closed doors, they laugh, they judge, they label. They don't care about reconciliation. They crave entertainment. Don't give it to them. What happens in your house, you take to God, not to gossip. God is not looking for perfect families. He's looking for faithful ones, faithful to each other, faithful in prayer, faithful even in dysfunction. That's where generational curses are broken, not by complaining, but by commitment to the process. The fifth thing God says never to tell anyone is your good deeds, because the moment you talk about your kindness, it ceases to be kindness. It becomes performance, and God did not bless you to be seen by men. He blessed you to be a light in darkness, quiet light, humble light. Let your left hand not know what your right hand is doing. That's divine instruction. When you help someone, do it in secret. When you give, give silently, because true generosity doesn't seek recognition. It seeks restoration. The moment you tell the world how good you are, you've already received your reward. But when you remain quiet, God rewards you in ways that man cannot measure. Don't post your charity. Don't brag about how many people you fed. Don't flex about who you forgave, because the truth is, none of it was really you. It was God working through you. You were just the vessel, a humble, obedient vessel. There is a difference between impact and impression. Impact changes lives. Impression changes opinions. If your kindness is about being seen, it's not kindness, it's vanity. But when you do good quietly, heaven takes note, and heaven's record lasts forever. Now listen closely. The people who live in peace are not the ones who know the most, talk the most, or shine the most. They are the ones who know what to say, when to say it, and when to say nothing at all. God is not only the author of speech, he is the master of silence. For 30 years, Jesus lived in silence before he spoke publicly. For 3 years, he walked the earth doing miracles, and even then, he often told people, "Tell no one." There is wisdom in that. Not everything God gives you is meant to be shared. Not every calling is meant to be broadcast. Not every blessing is meant to be posted. Some things are sacred. Some things are only for your prayer closet. Some things are between you and God alone. So guard your plans, guard your wealth, guard your weaknesses. Guard your family, and guard your good deeds, because the more you protect, the more God can trust you with. He doesn't give diamonds to people who leave their doors open. He gives them to those who know how to treasure them in secret. You don't need the world's applause. You need God's approval. So move in silence, walk with purpose, pray with power, and let your results speak for themselves. And let me tell you this, people are watching. Even when you think no one is paying attention, even when you feel invisible, someone is observing how you carry yourself, how you speak, how you respond. They're not always watching to celebrate. Some are watching to criticize, to compare, to copy. And that is why discretion is your greatest protection. Silence is your shield. You must learn to live as if every step is a step on sacred ground. When God begins to elevate you, the devil doesn't send strangers. He sends familiar faces. That's why the people closest to you must never know too much about your vulnerabilities. It's not because you don't love them. It's because you're wise, you're discerning. You understand that even Peter, the one who walked on water, denied Jesus when pressure came. That's not a reason to isolate. That's a reason to pray before you speak. Every time you see the devil doesn't need full access to your life to destroy you. He just needs a small crack, one sentence spoken in the wrong room, one weakness confessed to the wrong ear, one ambition shared with someone who isn't assigned to your destiny. That's all it takes, not a storm, just a whisper. That's why spiritual maturity isn't proven by how much you say. It's proven by what you refuse to say. The people who rise the highest are not the ones with the loudest dreams. They are the ones who quietly execute, one day at a time. They get up before the sun. They pray when no one is watching. They sacrifice in silence, and then, one day, the world wakes up and says, "Where did they come from?" But you and God know. You've been building in the dark for years. There's something sacred about holding something in your heart that no one else knows about. A vision, a promise, a word God gave you, and instead of talking about it, you water it with discipline. You feed it with faith. You protect it with boundaries because you know it's not ready yet, and when something isn't ready, it must be hidden. Even Jesus was hidden for years before his public ministry began. So I ask you, what are you building in silence? What are you growing beneath the surface? What idea, what goal, what dream is so valuable that it deserves your full attention and zero distraction? You don't need to post your process. You don't need to prove your value. You don't need to explain why you've been distant or quiet or unavailable. Those who are truly assigned to your life will understand. And those who don't understand were never meant to be there when the harvest comes. God is doing something in your life that doesn't require human approval. It requires divine alignment, and divine alignment often begins when you stop talking and start listening. There's a reason the tongue is so powerful. It can bless or curse, build or break. And there's a reason God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. Not so we can talk more, but so we can listen better, listen to God. Listen to your spirit. Listen to what's not being said in conversations. Because behind the surface, behind every smile, behind every question someone asks about your life, there's a motive, sometimes pure, sometimes not, but you'll only catch it if you've trained yourself to be still. Stillness isn't passivity. Stillness is strategy. It's how warriors prepare for war. It's how prophets hear the voice of God. It's how wise men protect their futures. The loudest people in the room are rarely the most powerful. They need attention to feel alive, but true power doesn't scream at whispers. True power walks into a room and changes the atmosphere without needing to say a word. When you hold back from speaking too much, you gain a kind of spiritual clarity. You begin to discern who is for you and who is merely around you. Some people clap for you because they think you're not a threat. But let them catch wind of your true calling and they'll turn quickly. So keep your silence, not as a weapon, but as a covering. Keep your vision tucked in your spirit until God says, now is the time. Keep your financial progress between you and God. You're not rich because of a number. You're rich because of your mindset, your discipline, your gratitude. Keep your weaknesses between you and the Lord. He knows what to do with them. He will not shame you for them. He will strengthen you through them. Keep your family challenges away from the hungry ears of gossips. They don't want your healing. They want your drama. But God wants your healing, and healing requires humility, not exposure. And keep your good works secret, not because you're hiding them, but because you're offering them as worship. You're saying, Lord, I didn't do this to be seen. I did this because you've been good to me, and this is my way of saying thank you. We live in a world that rewards spectacle, but heaven rewards sincerity. The world says, show me what you've done. Heaven says, show me your heart. You see, when God elevates a person, he doesn't just give them more blessing. He gives them more responsibility, and the more responsibility you carry, the more silence you must embrace. Your silence becomes your sanctuary. Your private life becomes your strongest fortress. That's where the real battles are fought. That's where the real victories happen. Not on stages, not in posts, but in the secret, hidden moments no one sees. And the beautiful thing is this: when you honor God with your privacy, he will honor you with his presence. When you protect the sacred, God enlarges your territory, not because you shouted for it, but because you were faithful with what was unseen. What most people call silence, the wise call sacred space. So don't be afraid to disappear for a while. Don't be afraid to withdraw from noise. Don't be afraid to stop talking. because the greatest transformation happens in silence. The caterpillar doesn't announce to the world it's becoming a butterfly. It simply enters the cocoon, quietly, secretly, and when it emerges, it flies. Your cocoon season is not punishment, it's preparation. Don't try to explain your silence to people who haven't earned the right to hear your transformation. They weren't there in the prayer room. They weren't there in your dark nights. They weren't there when you had nothing but faith. So they don't deserve to know your next chapter until God turns the page. Because when God is with you, silence is louder than any noise the world can make. And those who honor God in private, God will honor in public. Let that be your standard. Let that be your code. Let that be your legacy. And when that page turns, it won't come with an announcement. It'll come with undeniable evidence. That's how God works. He doesn't need to explain what He's doing in you. He simply reveals it through fruit. The harvest will speak for itself. The glow on your face, the peace in your spirit, the elevation in your life, those things are louder than any caption you could ever write, louder than any speech you could ever give. Because when God is working, the results are so profound, even your enemies are forced to admit it. Not because you told them what was coming, but because they can no longer deny what's already here. And that's why your silence is so powerful it disarms critics. It confuses enemies, and it forces people to watch what they never expected you to become. Let them speculate. Let them wonder. Let them underestimate you. That's not your business. Your business is obedience. Your business is focus. Your business is discipline. While they talk, you build. While they guess, you grow. While they laugh, you rise. Because the moment you stop explaining yourself is the moment you start accelerating. Too many dreams have been suffocated by the need to be understood. But the truth is, divine visions rarely make sense to human minds. And when you try to explain something spiritual to someone who only sees the natural, you end up shrinking your calling just to fit their comprehension. Don't do it. Protect the power God gave you by keeping it wrapped in prayer, in action, in silence. What God gives you in the dark is not meant to be displayed in the light until it's mature. Ask a fruit tree. It doesn't bloom the day it's planted. It grows in silence, roots first, then stems, then branches, then finally fruit, and even then, not every fruit is for display. Some are meant to feed you privately. Some are meant to remind you. God was there in every quiet moment you chose to trust Him instead of proving yourself. The more you learn to master this principle, the lighter your soul becomes. You don't feel the need to defend your journey. You don't feel pressure to prove your worth. You begin to see life through a higher lens, a lens where peace is the goal, not applause, a lens where alignment with God matters more than agreement with people. There's a supernatural confidence that comes when your validation comes from the throne room, not the comment section. When you wake up in the morning and your first conversation is with God, not the world, something changes in you. You begin to walk different, think different, move different, because you're no longer living for exposure. You're living for excellence. The world will always chase fame, but the wise chase fulfillment. The world shouts, "Look at me," but the wise whisper, "God, look at my heart." And when your heart is right, your silence becomes sacred ground. Every unspoken dream becomes a holy offering. Every private victory becomes a testimony written in heaven, and heaven never forgets what you've done in the shadows. Heaven records every act of integrity, every step of faith, every time you could have boasted but chose to remain still. And here's the truth that most people overlook. Silence is not just the absence of noise, it's the presence of strength. It takes strength to keep your plans to yourself when you're excited. It takes strength to keep your money quiet when you're prospering. It takes strength to hide your weaknesses when you're healing. It takes strength to carry your family's flaws with dignity. And it takes even more strength to bless people in private and expect nothing in return. This is not weakness. It is divine discipline, Because when you operate in this way, you're not just managing information, you're stewarding power. There's a time to speak, yes, but the wise always speak after the fruit appears, not before. There's a time to share your testimony, but not when the wound is still fresh. Wait until the scar has formed. Wait until the lesson is rooted. Wait until your spirit can speak from a place of maturity, not emotion. And that waiting, that patience, that discernment, it builds something in you that no degree, no platform, no audience can give. It builds divine authority, the kind of authority that doesn't need to yell, the kind that walks into rooms and shifts the temperature, the kind that doesn't beg to be respected. It earns it through character, so you begin to walk differently. You stop explaining yourself to small-minded people. You stop handing out access to people who haven't earned trust. You stop casting your pearls before swine, not because you think you're better, but because you've finally realized how valuable your pearls really are. And in that realization, you step into a different level of life, a level where what's unseen becomes more important than what's seen, a level where peace becomes non-negotiable, a level where obedience replaces validation. And in that place, you're no longer easily shaken. People's opinions no longer control you. Trends no longer distract you. Comparison no longer weighs you down, because you've discovered a higher way of living, a life hidden in God, a life powered by discipline, a life protected by silence. And the longer you live in that place, the more you see the truth that what you don't say is often more powerful than what you do. Let others chase noise, let others chase numbers, let others chase validation. You chase wisdom, you chase purpose, you chase divine timing, because you understand that when God finally chooses to reveal what he's been doing in you behind the scenes, no one will be able to deny it. Not because you told them, but because he showed them. So hear me now. Let the world wonder, let them guess, let them question, let them whisper. You owe no explanations for a vision God placed in your heart. You owe no one your dreams, your strategy, your healing, or your breakthroughs. What you owe is obedience. What you owe is faith. What you owe is the commitment to walk in wisdom and protect what's sacred. The enemy wants you loud, exposed, and careless with your words. But God is calling you to be strategic, silent, and strong. This is your moment to rise in stillness, to move in purpose, and to trust that what is hidden in him cannot be stolen by man. Build in silence, heal in silence, grow in silence, and when it's time, God will reveal you, and when he does, no one will be able to say it was luck or chance or connections. It will be clear this was the hand of God. This was the result of sacred silence, unwavering discipline, and a heart fully aligned with purpose. Never forget, your silence isn't emptiness, it's loaded, it's power, it's protection, and in the end it will speak louder than anything you could have said. Now go move different, think different, speak less, let your fruit speak for you.